In 2017, a guy named Takemaki lived the life of a loser. He's always down bad and eating snacks on his bed. He's known as a loser in his neighborhood and works in a library, where his boss treats him harshly. Even the other kids disregard and make fun of him. The only girlfriend he's ever had was in high school, when he was involved in a street gang and had dyed his hair blonde, but then he left the city to get away from all that. Then one day, while he was watching TV, he saw the news of a street gang incident. 6 casualties were reported. Among them was a boy called Naoto and a girl called Hinata Tachibana, which surprised him since that was his ex-girlfriend back in high school. That same day, while Takemaki was waiting for the train, he was then pushed by someone onto the train tracks, and when it seemed like he was going to die, he suddenly traveled back in time to 12 years ago when he was still in high school and his ex-girlfriend Hinata was still his girlfriend. He was now 12 years in the past. When he was in his second year of high school, he was involved in a small gang with his friends, which was led by his best friend, Akin, and with whom one day he got into a fight with the second year of another school, but instead, came the ones in third year and gave them a beating afterwards. They were forced to be part of the Tokyo Manji gangs. They were treated like slaves in the gang. Takemaki and his friends were forced into underground matches led by Kayomasa of the Tokyo Manji gang. The third-year gang defeated a lot of groups and forced them to bet and compete in their matches. Takemaki was on the street one day when he saw some guys who were bothering a kid who turned out to be Naoto, the brother of Hinata, which he now knows he is going to die within 12 years' time. Takemaki tells him the exact date and time him and his sister will die. After their conversation, they shook hands together. Suddenly, Takemaki is then transported back to the present. Then, in the present, he wakes up in the hospital, and then he sees Naoto, who saved him from the train accident. Naoto didn't die due to the advice 12 years ago in the past. He could be saved, but his sister didn't, but he turned to a detective to investigate the death of his sister. I didn't want to make it very long, so I'll cut to the chase. Naoto asked Takemaki to travel back in time to avoid it, since before those two met they knew how he returned to the present after the handshake. Then he realized that this was the time skip trigger, so they shook hands again, and then Takemaki finds himself in his old form in the past again, but as I said with one of those guys, you will wonder. Well, one of the days they were doing one of the underground fights. Takemaki challenged Kayomasa to a bare-knuckle fight where, obviously, Kayomasa dealt with him after a lot of punches. Takemaki shouted that he was not going to give up because he had a purpose. At that moment, the vice commander of Toman, Ryoguchi-kin, also known as Draken from the gang, and the commander, Sano Manjiro, who is best known as Mikey, appear. The fact is that Mikey is interested in Takemaki for his determination. He tells him that from now they will be friends. Afterwards, Mikey blows and breaks the face of the big guy, Kayomasa, who thinks he's boss for staining the name of his gang. The next day, when Takemaki was in class, Mikey and Draken went to get Takemaki, but Takemaki's girlfriend came to stop him, thinking that they wanted to hurt him. She almost got into a misunderstanding with Draken, but then they clarified things. Mikey and Takemaki, accompanied by Draken, went on a stroll. Then Takemaki asked why he is liked by the commander, who stated the reason for which he became interested in him is the result that he is remembered by his deceased older brother, and he tells him that he wants him to accompany him to fulfill his purpose, which consists of creating a new era for gang members. Takemaki goes home with Hinta to study. After that, there was a fireworks show. Naoto comes home and inadvertently grabs the hand of Takemaki, and time travel is triggered. This prompts his return to the future without knowing. Now in the future, while investigating the death of Hinata, he discovers that Akin, his childhood friend, was now part of the high command. With this new information, they decide to go see him to ask him about Mikey and why he had changed the gang. In getting to meet Akin, he explained that he knew how he could travel to the past and how Naoto saved him from the train accident. He also explained that he was the one that pushed him at the train station. Akin explained that the Mikey changed due to the change in the Tokyo Manji group. The death of Ryoguchi-kin, also known as Draken, led to division in the gang. In return, Akin explained that the Tokyo Manji group has become worse after being led by the new vice chairman, Kasaki, and how everyone fears him and that everything is the fault of Kasaki. After telling Takemaki all this, Akin felt really bad about how messed up his life. He immediately commits suicide in front of Takemaki, which makes him decide that things look really bad. Then he gets even more determined to save them all, now not only his ex-girlfriend, but also all those who have been affected by the changes in the gang. Takemaki goes back in time and wakes up with a lady above him. She was Draken's girlfriend and, on top of that, she was Mikey's sister. To end your curiosity, nothing really happened. Draken called Takemaki to the Musashi Shrine. There was a gathering of gang members. They were called to a fight against another group of Mobius gangsters, who were large in number. The two groups were in conflict because of a 3rd Division vice captain, Payan. Pinion's buddy got into something with the Mobius leader named Osani, who raped his girlfriend, took all his money and then hung his parents and siblings. Now they are going to avenge him on August 3rd. Takemaki tries to stop the outbreak between two groups because he believes that's what led to the division into the Toman group. Takemaki avoids talking about it with Mikey and tries to stop it by all means. The Mobius leader, Osani, came with a crowd of soldiers from his gang looking for a fight. In the midst of the conversation between the two leaders, Payan had a one-on-one with Osani. The latter was defeated by Mikey, but everyone had to escape because the police were coming. Payan decided to turn himself into the police while the others escaped, and Takemaki ends up passing out for a while, so he found out nothing of what happened afterwards. But it turns out that there was a misunderstanding between Draken and Mikey due to differences of ideas between the Takefer have left one of their own, and it even generated conflict between the heads the same as Mike Draken. They were fighting, but thanks to Takemaki who reconciled things between them, and everything is perfect. But on the other hand, because his best friend is dissatisfied and kept a grudge against Mikey and Draken, he caused a clandestine in the group. He was conspiring together with Mobius to kill Draken, and guess when? Actually the 3rd of August. When Takemaki and Draken were having a double date against their girlfriends at the festival broke up, and together with members of Mobius they were waiting to give a beating, and then Takemaki tries to avoid it when he realized Kayomesa was also part of the plan, and he wanted to kill Draken. He tried to stop them, but they taped him up and left him lying on the floor. He felt useless, but after that, Hinata was able to find him and free him. She filled him with courage, and he continued trying to save Draken. Little by little, they all arrived to help, including Mikey, and they started a gang war. While this was going on, we met a character quite important in the plot, who would be the first person Mikey couldn't knock down, and who said the same, that from now on, Mobius would evolve and end up turning into Valhalla. On the other hand, Takemaki was trying to find Draken in the middle of it all, but when he finds him, it was late. Kayomesa had already stabbed him, whereas, the guy who started the clandestine fight had already met with Mikey, and it was settled. Mikey asks Takemachi to take good care of Draken. While on his way rushing Draken to the hospital, he crosses the little group that stabbed Draken. It happened to be Kayomesa and his group that initiated the clandestine. Then, Takemaki tried to stand up against Kayomesa. He had shivering legs, but he still stood up, even though Kayomesa ran his hand through a knife. Takemaki did not give up. I don't know where he drew strength, but he won. Later, friends of Takemaki came to save him not long after the ambulance came, and they took him to the hospital where he was operated on. Takemaki tries hard so that he doesn't die. Although he managed to save Draken, did he even change the future? The fight between Mobius and Toman ended because the police arrived and said that everything would be over. Well, Mikey began to suspect Takemaki for knowing so much about what was going to happen, but still he still sees it as part of the take, and that's why he gave him the uniform. Even though Takemaki thinks he is not worthy of it, he does not wear a uniform, and with everything solved, Takemaki time travels back into the future. It is supposed that everything would already be well, but his life was still boring. But his redhead's best friend is still alive now. He is a Chinese hairstylist. His ex-girlfriend was still alive, and they were alone talking for a while, but Takemaki went to the bathroom while she was waiting in the car. While he was about leaving the bathroom, he met Hanma, but he didn't even recognize him, and when she was getting to the car, he saw how Hina's car was smashed against a wall by a truck that was driven by his best red-haired friend. He tells him that he now works for Kasaki, whom he is very afraid of, and that is why he did what he did, exactly the same words as the time he committed suicide on his other line temporarily, and now he not only had to see the best friend of his redhead die, but Takemaki also saw how Hina died in front of him due to the explosion of the cars. This motivated Takemaki, and he vowed to return to the past to try to save them again. How did we get here? You wonder? Before traveling back in time, Takemichi and Naoto investigate what happened. They realized that everything looked like this because Draken-kun did not actually die, which is why they couldn't find him. Meanwhile, he has been in the Tokyo Detention Center, which is why they have come to see him there. On getting there, they find out Draken-kun is on death row for killing people. Meeting Draken-kun, Takemichi finds out who is after his life and what the person is responsible for what happened to Toman. Though Draken-kun blamed himself for being the reason why Toman ended up, Takemichi, being more curious, decides to travel to the past to find out who the person Draken-kun told him about is, not knowing if he has met the person before or not. Luckily for him, as he travels to the past, Mikey-kun announces the new 3rd Division captain of Toman, and guess who it is? Indeed, Kasaki Teta, the man behind Hana's death, also wants Takemichi dead. Takemichi, being overwhelmed about what would happen in the future, did not even think about it before hitting Kasaki on the face. While being condemned for doing this, the 1st Division captain of Toman, Baji Keisuke, got at Takemichi with a hard punch in his face for no reason. After being challenged for coming during the appointment ceremony of 3rd Division captain of the Toman gang, he leaves saying he's going to join Valhalla. Kasaki, who has been watching all the displays, retaliates for Takemichi's punch by hitting him hard on the face, which made him fall and become unconscious. The ceremony has ended and Takemichi, who has been knocked out, finally regains consciousness, only to find Mikey by his side, who explains why they need to expand with Mobius and face Valhalla, which is already growing and getting larger in number. Then Ani-Kun tells Takemichi to bring back Baji from Valhalla. In return for this favor, Takemichi asks for Kasaki to be kicked out of Toman because of the damage it is going to cause Toman in the future. Even though he doesn't know why Takemichi insists on this, Mikey agrees to this term, telling him that if he fails to do the fast given to him, he is going to kill him. After everything, Mikey tells Takemichi that from now on he is an official member of Toman, and after that he departs with Mitsuya, one of the founders of Toman who had been eavesdropping on all this while. After everyone's departure, Takemichi finds an amulet with a photo of all the founders of Toman, where he finds a man, whom he doesn't know is one of the founders of the gang. The next day, while in class with his friends, this guy in his thorax comes in to ask him, whom they find out to be Valhalla number 3, named Kazutora. Kazutora takes Takemichi to the Valhalla gang base, where he finds out various things about the hand. One of the various things he found out is that no one knows the real boss of the gang, they only know the one who is second in command to the boss, whose name is Hanma. He is in the gang base with other founders of the gang. There, Takemichi finds out Kazutora happens to be the unknown founding member of Toman he saw in the picture earlier, who has a grudge against Toman after the death of Mikey's older brother. It happened long ago, when Kazutora and Baji thought of getting Ani-Kun a motorcycle as a birthday gift and, because they didn't have such an amount to buy the motorcycle, they then decided to steal it. This happened to be Kazutora's idea. Unknown to them, the owner of the store happens to be Mikey's older brother. Just after Kazutora-kun left to pick something up, Shinichiro-kun saw Baji asking him what he was doing in there. Just before Shinichiro-kun could say any more words, Kazutora hit him with a huge plier, which led to Shinichiro-kun's death, not knowing he was Mikey's brother. This was told to Takemichi to demonstrate what led to the hatred between them and Toman. After all this, they gave a message to Takemichi to tell Mikey that on October 31st there would be a war between Toman and Valhalla. Due to this, Takemichi meets with Shifuyu and the two decide to have a conversation with Baji in hopes of stopping the war. When they do, he notes that all the conflicts that have been up to now were the result of the plans of Kasaki, who is the head of Mobius. And now he wants to use both those of Toman and Valhalla to achieve something more by planning a war between them. The war approaches and everyone is reloaded with blows. But the important thing was that what happened in the past was not fulfilled. Takemichi found out when he returned to the present that what he should avoid was the death of Baki at the hands of Kazutora. This is so that Mikey does not lose control and kills Kazutora. Knowing this, Takemichi believed that he could avoid it. However, it went down like in the past and Baki was stabbed by Kazutora, but he did not die. In the end, he falls unconscious. Seeing him, Mikey assumes he is dead and continues to punch Kazutora with the aim of killing him. Shortly after, Baki wakes up, approaches them and, in front of everyone, he stabs himself to death. This he does, so Kazutora doesn't feel guilty about killing him. And so Mikey does not end up committing murder. He wants them both to be comrades again. Even with this, Mikey is distraught and continues to beat Kazutora, but Takemichi manages to stop him and make him come to his senses. They are more convinced when they see a charm they had bought the day they founded the gang. When Mikey sees it, he comes to his senses. After a while, they all have to disperse because the police arrive. After that, Takemichi is invited to a meeting. At this meeting, Valhalla decides to join Toman as a united gang. This is like he had seen in the present, and Takemichi was named captain of the 1st Division. Due to this, he can still change the future. However, when he returned to the present, he had no way of contacting Naoto. Also, he realizes he is now a person of high command in the gang. Eventually, he had a chat with Shifuyu and Kasaki, who deceived them, saying that he was sorry for everything that he had done 12 years ago. As we know, everything was a lie because he did it so that they would let their guard down, giving him the chance to drug them. Once they wake up, he shoots them both, finishing off the last two who know about his ordeals in the Toman gang. If you liked it, do it to me know in the comments, and obviously leave your like too. Do not forget to share with your friends and subscribe. Above all, activate the bell so you don't miss any video that we upload to the channel. Until next time guys, take care.